The night she arrived, the sky looked bruised, like it had taken a beating and decided not to heal. The old bus sighed as it pulled away, leaving behind a cloud of dust and a girl standing alone with a single bag and a look that felt heavier than the mountains around us. I noticed her because she didn't look around the way newcomers usually do. She didn't search for help or landmarks. She stood still, as if movement itself had already exhausted her. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a quiet shame that cut deeper than anger ever could. She said her family had sent her here as a punishment. And without fully understanding why, without thinking through consequences or logic, I felt something in my chest open and answer back with a simple truth. If this place was meant to break her, then she didn't have to face it alone. She could stay with me. If you believe that kindness still matters, that people deserve second chances even when the world is done judging them, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel, The Kindness Chronicles. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. The town itself was the kind of place people forgot on purpose. Tucked between rocky hills and dry land that cracked under the sun, it had once been busy with travelers and trade, but time had slowly erased its importance. What remained were tired buildings, long silences, and people who carried their disappointments quietly. I had come here years earlier for work I never planned to stay in, and somehow staying became my life. The days were predictable, and the nights even more so. Loneliness had become familiar enough to stop hurting, or at least that's what I told myself. When she arrived, dragging her past behind her like a shadow, something shifted. Her presence felt like a question I hadn't known I was waiting to answer. She followed me to the small house without protest, her steps careful, as if she expected the ground to give way beneath her. Inside, the place was simple, almost bare, but clean. She sat quietly, hands folded, eyes moving slowly over the walls, the floor, the little signs of a life built alone. I learned her story not through dramatic confessions but through fragments that surfaced in moments of exhaustion. She hadn't been sent away for one big mistake. It was a lifetime of being misunderstood, of not fitting into the narrow shape her family demanded. Every failure had stacked on the last until distance felt easier for them than understanding. Sending her away had been framed as discipline, but it was really abandonment wearing a polite mask. Living together was awkward at first, like two strangers learning the rhythm of the same song. Mornings were quiet. We shared space carefully, both afraid of crossing invisible lines. She took small jobs around town, the kind no one wanted, and came home with tired hands and eyes that tried to hide disappointment. People watched her with curiosity and judgment, as small towns do. She felt it, even when no one said anything. Some nights, I could sense the weight pressing down on her, the old voices from home replaying themselves in her mind, telling her she deserved this exile. I didn't know how to erase those voices, but I knew how to be present, and sometimes presence is the loudest form of care. The real struggle wasn't survival. We managed food, work, and shelter. The real struggle was dignity. She had lost hers somewhere along the way, chipped away by criticism and rejection until she believed she was nothing more than a burden being passed around. Watching that broke something in me. I had spent years convincing myself that staying neutral was safer than caring too much. But seeing her fight invisible battles every day reminded me that neutrality can be another form of cruelty. Slowly, without grand gestures, things began to change. I made sure she knew the house wasn't temporary. She began to change. I made sure she knew the house wasn't temporary. She began to decorate small corners with things she liked. A plant on the window. A cloth over the table. Tiny acts of claiming space in a world that had told her she had none. The town didn't change overnight. Some people softened, others didn't. But she did. Strength returned to her in quiet ways. She laughed more easily. She stood straighter. She started talking about dreams she had buried years ago because no one had taken them seriously. I saw how powerful it was when someone is allowed to exist without constantly defending themselves. In giving her shelter, I found myself confronted with my own emptiness, the years I had spent surviving instead of living. Her healing mirrored mine, and that scared me, because it meant I had something to lose. Then came the moment when the past tried to reclaim her. A message from home arrived, not apologetic, not warm, but demanding. They wanted her back, not because they missed her, but because distance had stopped serving its purpose. Old guilt resurfaced, pulling her in two directions. The idea of leaving filled her with dread, but the idea of staying felt like betrayal to the people who raised her, even if they had hurt her. Those days were heavy. The house felt smaller. The air felt tight. I realized that kindness sometimes leads you to crossroads where you can't decide for someone else, no matter how much you want to protect them. She made her choice slowly. Not with anger, not with fear, but with a calm I had never seen in her before. She understood that being sent away had broken her, but it had also revealed who she was without constant judgment. She didn't owe anyone her suffering. When she chose to stay, truly stay, it wasn't because she needed saving. It was because she had finally learned her worth. That realization changed everything. Our home stopped feeling like a refuge from punishment and started feeling like a beginning. Time passed, and the town witnessed something it rarely does, growth. She found better work, then purpose. I found myself smiling at things I had long ignored, like the way the light hit the hills at dusk or how silence could feel peaceful instead of lonely. We became proof, quietly, that compassion doesn't need permission to change lives. The people who once whispered began to nod in respect. Not because she had proven them wrong, but because she had proven herself right. Near the end of this story, I want to speak directly to you. If this journey, this quiet fight for dignity and belonging, has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and leave a comment. Your engagement tells us these stories matter and helps them reach others who might be standing alone at their own bus stop, believing they've been sent away as punishment. Before this video ends, I have a special request. In the comments, write this line exactly as it is: kindness gave her a home. Let it be a reminder to anyone reading that sometimes the simplest acts can rewrite an entire life.